Hello. Here in section 9 I will explain to you about the numbers. It is also called number nouns because it's a part of noun. As nouns are one of the most important parts of speech in English, so while mentioning nouns in any sentence, you must remember the importance of the difference between singularity and plurality of noun. The types and rules of number. Numbers are the exclusive parts of noun and pronoun countable only. There are two types of numbers. Number one, singular number. Number two, plural number. It is already known to us that number is a noun only. So we shall use singular number and plural number only. Now, what is singular number? The definition of singular number is that a noun standing for one person, animal, place or thing is said to be in the singular number. Example for this such as pen, table, aunt, father, goose, etc. And the plural number is that a noun standing for more than one person, animal, place or thing is said to be in the plural number. Example, pens, tables, aunts, brothers, geese, etc. It seems the numbers chapter is very simple, but there are a few very important yet simple rules to follow while writing singular and plural nouns. You must know these rules and follow while writing and speaking as well. So we shall see what are those rules to change singular number to plural number. The rules with some exceptions are discussed here. For your convenience, singular is shown in black and plural in blue. The other letter changes are marked by underlining and also making them italics. Rule number 1. In general, to form plurals of most nouns, only s is added to the singular. A few examples are girl becomes girls. Table from singular becomes tables in plural. Flower becomes flowers, etc. Next, rule number 2. Nouns that end with s, double s, sh, ch, x, and z form their plural by adding es, such as from singular bus becomes buses, class becomes classes, dish becomes dishes, box becomes boxes. Next rule is rule number 3, part 1. Some nouns that end in o and have consonant before that form their plural by adding es. You can see a few examples here such as hero becomes heroes, potato becomes potatoes, mango becomes mangoes. But in the other part, that is part 2 of the same rule, that is rule 3 part 2, when there is a vowel before that o, only s is added to make it plural, such as studio becomes studios, portfolio becomes portfolios, and bamboo becomes bamboos, etc. In this or in such rule, there are exceptions also. So exception number 1 is that though there is an o at the end and when a consonant or a vowel before that, some nouns use only s to form plural, such as photo becomes photos, piano becomes pianos, radio becomes radios, etc. So here only s is used instead of es as it is applicable for other words. Exception number 2 here in the same rule is that for some words, that is for nouns, s and es both are correct. such as mosquito with both S or ES is correct. And the same goes with the word commando. Both S or ES are correct. There are other words also. You need to remember such words with exceptions or memorize it. Rule number 4, part 1. Nouns that end in F generally form their plural by changing the F to VES, such as leaf becomes leaves, thief becomes thieves. And rule number 4, part 2 says that nouns that end in FE generally form their plural by changing the FE to VES. Here you can see that wife becomes wives, knife becomes knives, life becomes lives, etc. In this rule also there is an exception. These exceptions are that there are a few words whose plural form can be done by adding only s at the end. You need to remember those, such as roof becomes roofs, belief becomes beliefs, etc. In rule number 5, part 1, it is said that nouns that end with y having a consonant before that y, to make it plural, that y is replaced with I and es thereafter. That is, ies is added in place of y, such as baby becomes babies, city becomes cities, country becomes countries, etc. The other part of the same rule, that is rule number 5, part 2, says that if the final y comes just after a vowel, plural is formed by only s to the singular, such as day becomes days, ray becomes rays, boy becomes boys. Now it is very important to tell you here that in addition to all the rules already cited so far, there are some noun numbers which seem do not have any rule but follows specific terms. You are advised to see all these words attentively and must remember, even if you do not remember the rules. So, the singular and plural forms of these words are to be kept in mind, such as by changing the vowels at the center only, food becomes feet, woman becomes women, etc. Number 2, where there are words ending with is, are made plural only by changing is by es, such as axis becomes axis, crisis becomes crisis, analysis becomes analysis, etc. Next, the words ending with letters on or un, made plural by replacing on or un by a, such as criterion becomes criteria, curriculum becomes curricula, etc. Next is from ending letters us to double I or only I, such as radius becomes radii, nucleus becomes nuclei, etc. Next is ex by ices, that is index to indices, vertex becomes vertices, etc. This is not the end. There are some more nouns and their plural forms are to be remembered without any doubt. Number 1, there are noun words which are made plural by changing the full words, such as mouse becomes mice, ox becomes oxen, child becomes children, etc. Number 2, there are some words for which where there is no change from singular to plural. Nothing is changed, such as sheep remains sheep, deer remains deer, dozen remains dozen, fish remains fish, etc. It is important to tell you here that fish becomes fishes only when there are various types of fishes. Number 3, add s when ch is like k. A few examples are stomach becomes stomachs, monarch becomes monarchs, hierarch becomes hierarchs. In the next rule, it says that only to add s when there is a ful in the end of a word, such as handful becomes handfuls, mouthful becomes mouthfuls, etc. For compound nouns, s is added to the main part, such as brother-in-law becomes brothers-in-law, maid-servant becomes maid-servants, etc. Next comes another rule, that is, besides adding s only in the end, gets it done for a few. The examples are major general becomes major generals, bookcase becomes bookcases. It is not the end here. Noun numbers have some more important words to be remembered, such as some singular nouns have no plural form, only used in singular, such as furniture, scenery, issue, expenditure, etc. Some are always used as plural form, such as scissors, trousers, spectacles, assets, etc. Though some nouns seem like singular, but actually they are plural, such as government, people, cattle, mankind, etc. Similarly, some nouns seem like plural, though they are always singular, such as physics, politics, ethics, news, wages, etc. The more important point to note and remember for the pronouns. There is no specific rule for changing the number of pronouns. It's all about memorizing. We already know, but to mention specifically here, it is like this. I becomes we, my becomes our, mine becomes ours, this becomes these, that becomes those, etc. Now here is an exercise for you to test yourself. Now here you can see the answers of this exercise.